Good morning, everybody. So, welcome to our summer conference on international tax for the 21st century. Last year was our 10th year and our 10th summer conference, so we're just starting a new decade today. Turns out that this kind of may not have been the greatest timing for a conference on international tax. I don't think we really kind of predicted what was going to happen last Thursday. But in a way, there's two benefits. So one is to remind ourselves that actually what we're going to talk about today is kind of fundamental reform of international tax. And one of the problems in the international tax debate, I think, is that there's never a good time to talk about that. You know, we're always kind of focusing on the kind of most recent policy initiatives and thinking how to kind of tweak some aspect of the tax system without going back to basics. So today we're going to go back to basics. I'm sure the kind of issue of Brexit will come up. I'm pleased to see that one of our panelists has already written about that in the Financial Times. Vanessa Holder has written about some of the tax implications already. I'm sure that will occupy many of us for many years to come. I think, unfortunately, there is one casualty of the referendum debate and result already, which is one of our panelists, Margaret Hodge, who I'm sure you all know is going to be otherwise engaged today in a meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party. So unfortunately, she sends her apologies and won't be able to join us for the panel this afternoon. So as I say, today we want to take a step back, really. I think, and we're actually the plan is to think about fundamental reform. I'm sure the issues of Brexit and tax will come up, and indeed, you know, many of the current policy issues will come up during the day, but we're not aiming to focus on them. We really want to kind of go back and look at, you know, what's the structure of the existing system and what alternatives are there. And when we, you know, if we look at that kind of general debate that takes place, we have the existing system, the OECD BEPS proposals in relation to the existing system on the one hand. When people talk about alternatives to that, the main alternative that people usually think about is some kind of formal reapportionment system like the CCCTB. So today we'd like to kind of go a bit beyond that debate of kind of one or the other and think about other possibilities that there might be out there. And to help us do that, the centre essentially set up a group of international tax lawyers and economists a couple of years ago, just as the BEPS process was starting in the OECD. So we thought it'd be a good idea to actually get together a world-class group of economists and lawyers who would actually address the fundamentals in a way which the OECD didn't appear to be doing. I think we were extremely successful in putting together a team, most of whom are here today. So apart from me, the other economists are Mick Keane and Alan Auerbach. Mick is here. Alan couldn't make it, unfortunately. He's in California. And a group of lawyers, Wolfgang Schern, Michael Gratz, Paul Oosterhuis, and John Vella. So that's the team. We've been working together and meeting regularly since 2013. It takes quite a long time to actually produce some output, so it's only been 2.5 years so far, but we think we've got to a position where we would like to share some of the things that we've been thinking about. And our idea is we're going to hold a conference here today in Oxford. We're holding another conference in Washington, DC in a few weeks' time. We'd like to present to you some of the things that we've been thinking about and try and get some feedback from that and before we kind of produce a final report. So that's the plan. There's the group has strong views on a lot of issues. It took a lot of time debating a number of issues, and there were things that we didn't agree with, and there's been a lot of discussion. But I think there's also been a lot of things that we did agree with quite quickly as a group. One of those was the problem of the BEPS process within the OECD not addressing the fundamental problems of the tax system. And effectively just kind of looking more towards closing loopholes probably with the result of creating more complexity and more uncertainty. And the second was a kind of thinking about a stable long-run system has to be based on trying to tax income or factors in places which are relatively immobile. Now, that's quite a long way from the existing system. I think both of the main proposals that we're going to talk about today, have some features of that, although they're kind of rather different from each other. So the plan for the day is the first session, we're going to kind of set up the kind of basics, if you like. We want to go back and say, what are we trying to do with the corporation tax system? What are the principles that we would like to underlie the tax system? How does the existing system and how do things like formal apportionment and other proposals that have been made, how do they match up to those principles? So this is, I think we wanted to really go back and ask those kind of questions and have a debate on that before we then present in the following two sessions. We're going to present two proposals which are quite different from each other, but actually share some similarities as well. So first is what we call a kind of residual profit allocation system. That's something which is kind of based really quite closely on the existing system. The second, a destination-based cash flow tax, which is really quite a big departure from the existing system. So I think the idea of having economists and lawyers on this team is that we can kind of actually do economics and law. We can think hard about the kind of details of implementation while also thinking hard about what the economic implications would be. So that's the plan. That's the first three sessions. The fourth session is a distinguished panel where all of these issues may come up again and many more, perhaps. Finally, actually not quite finally, almost finally, I'd like to make a plug for a book. This is Follow the Money by Michael Gratz, one of my colleagues on the International Tax Group, who's sitting right here. So Michael has been writing on international tax for many years. He's collected some of his papers in this book. Michael's work has been very influential both for our group, before the group started and subsequently. There's a great deal of great material in here. It's available at the bargain price on Amazon of only £12, I believe. So it's a great read. So I very much recommend it to you. There are some copies outside if you'd like to consult them. And no doubt Michael could say more about, if you want to get an autographed copy, that could be arranged as well. So, okay, that's all by way of introduction. Thanks again for coming, and thanks in particular to our speakers. I'm going to hand over to John Vella. John's an associate professor here in the business school. He's a senior research fellow in the Centre for Business Taxation, and he's a member of the International Tax Group, and he's going to chair the first session. Thank you.